Uh,
That's the intro right there. We putting that right there. This is Creative Wisdom. This is Meek, and we're here with Sasha Kashperko. And he's a guitarist, a jazz guitarist around. Well, he's from you. You're based in Detroit. I know you're probably from somewhere else, right?
I was born in the country Belarus,
Okay, Belarus.
and my family, when we first came to America, we actually lived in New York for a short bit,
Okay, nice.
between like 7 and 9 years old.
Okay.
So from about nine, I've been in the Metro Detroit area.
Okay, nice. Yes. So I know him as a Detroiter, but yeah, he's from
Yeah,
Belarus. I never heard of that before. I don't think I know met anybody from.
most people haven't because it's literally a brand new country. We
Oh,
were not actually a country until 1991,
okay.
when yeah, it used to be like a state within the Soviet Union,
Mm-hmm.
which collapsed in the early 90s and broke off into like a bunch of countries, which includes Russia. So Russia kind of used to like rule my now new country, Belarus.
That's dope. See, we got a little lesson, geography lesson. But yeah, so he's
Yeah.
gonna be sharing some wisdom with us about his journey, playing guitar for himself and also with other artists, so many dope artists, and some wisdom that he's gained during his time as a career musician and also just as a student. Because if you see Sasha plays, you can just tell like he's not just playing for fun or because something's trendy, but he even if you do that, you know what I'm saying? But it's like you could just tell like that you're just spewing knowledge and like what you know through the guitar. And so we're gonna learn much about him because we was talking before, like you kind of like self-taught. Um, and
Definitely.
so I always think to me that's the most inspiring self-taught musicians. So I definitely want
Mm,
to pick your brain about that later.
for sure.
About how what was your approach to learning. But first we're gonna just start off talking about like your albums and stuff like that. And we're just going to go
Okay.
through each of them because each of them is like super distinct, in a
Mm.
distinct different sound, but it's still like you on a guitar. Yeah. So so all albums you produced them all, right?
Yeah. Well, um, I've put out stuff on a few different platforms over the years, kind of been testing out like. So I think the first stuff I ever put out was on SoundCloud
Mm,
officially, and I'm not sure what's up there now, but at some point I started, going to Bandcamp and then eventually messing around with Spotify and all those other platforms. But I'm not sure how many albums I've put out in total. I mean, I don't
oh,
even know if we can call them officially albums. Some of them are more like
project.
just a couple of songs but yeah, I think there's like at least 10 or 11
Whoa.
albums or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, most of them are just me, if not featuring a couple people here and there.
Hmm.
And then my latest project is actually really like a duo collaboration
Yeah, the
with
anti-philosophy.
yeah.
Okay. Nice. Because that's
So
on a title.
yes, that's on everything as well.
Yep.
And that album, probably more than any of my other albums, is involves other people other than myself.
Okay.
Especially Deshaun. It's really like mostly just a collaboration between the two of us. So
Right, right. Because he's a saxophonist.
yeah, and
And
also a producer.
okay,
So it's
nice.
kind of like we're he's been my mentor for many years musically,
Oh wow.
and this past year and this project is kind of the result of him kind of mentoring me more as a producer now.
Okay.
Uh, So like a lot of these songs are stuff that I've originally started up by myself and then brought to him, and he was like, "Well, this is how we can make it better." And then that gave birth to this project.
Okay, nice. Because yeah, I was gonna talk about that last, but we could talk about that now since we on it. Because like that
I'm
one,
sorry.
oh no, it's fine. Like this is your, thing. I'm just, hosting or something. But that album is kind of like a reflection of 2020 because like a lot of
Yeah,
the titles are like viral and stay at home order and
yeah, yeah,
it's named names after the things we've experienced, being in quarantine and going through a global pandemic. And like I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty cool that you guys were able to like express yourselves, especially through 2020, but also like make it fun because like a lot of the songs are pretty like upbeat, you know,
Yeah,
if you want to call it upbeat, but it's like that tempo,
definitely.
that tempo thing. But go ahead, you want to talk more about it?
Sure. Yeah, that project, uh, I like that you said that it was, it kind of gave us room in a way this year.
Uh-huh.
And because that's kind of how it felt in a way. I think a lot of musicians, I'm sure you can relate, a lot of musicians lost a lot of work and a lot of opportunities. And it was almost like we had nothing to do, and nothing to, there was no deadlines anymore. There was no tour dates coming up, no studio sessions. It was just kind of like, well, uh, so this project is, you know, we had no real goal with it, or purpose. It was just kind of like the world is ending and we're gonna do what we love, one last time maybe, and that, so it was kind of like we felt a sense of freedom in a way because it wasn't for anybody. It was just for us. This is the music that we kind of like have always dreamed of making or having the time to make.
Mm-hmm. So is that how it
So
came
yeah,
together? It came together like because it's like, oh well, we not working, so let's make an album, or was it already planned before?
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, we really weren't planning to make this body of work, and frankly, this album that we just released is only a snippet of what we've actually finished.
Oh wow.
We have like, yeah, we were originally gonna we were thinking about maybe releasing it all in like one huge, collection, or maybe two really big albums, but we ended up just releasing 6 songs, and I think we have well over 80
Whoa.
songs that we created this year. Yeah, that sound
Whoa.
very similar. And
Okay.
we decided to break it up into volumes.
Right.
This is volume 1, and we're going to drop volume 2 hopefully this week. We keep
Okay.
pushing it back, but just because we keep mixing it, mostly that's the only thing that's holding it up, is because
The technical
we're
side.
really particular. We're really particular with how it gets mixed.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Yeah, because like you said, like this is volume one, and it sounds like it could be the soundtrack, honestly, to just the way the energy in the city was. You know,
Yeah,
even though it was like grief, it was still like so many things, like great going on, birthday. Also, like you said, like y'all did something totally. I mean, it kind of reminded me of some of the sound that you used on Cactusaurus a little bit.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
like avant-garde it was, and like lo-fi,
Yeah,
but so it
yeah,
sounds,
all those
it's not,
things.
yeah, so it's not completely just put out the air, but like you said, y'all was free to create and things like that. Did you make anything new for it? Because you said it was some stuff you made, it was like you already had, but was it anything you specifically just came up and was like just freestyle?
For well, yeah, most of it was written this year.
Okay.
Most of the we've split it up into 11 volumes.
Well,
Yeah, so most of it is just stuff that I started creating just at home.
okay, nice.
Uh, a few of the tracks, Viral is one of those, is one that we actually created together at
Mm-hmm.
his studio.
Mm-hmm.
He has a spot up at the legendary Submerge, or the Underground Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
I never heard
and
it.
oh yeah, yeah. So it's like this building on Grand Boulevard
Oh, nice.
where the Underground Resistance Collective started. Some of the founders of like techno and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them still reside there and make music there.
That's crazy.
Um, Actually, Mike Banks has kind of been mentoring us through this project a little bit,
Mm.
especially for the mixes. And yeah, so it's been awesome doing that. It's been literally the only kind of like creative musical thing that I've done outside of my me being by myself at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's just meeting up with Deshaun, just the two of us. Of course, we're wearing masks and stuff, and uh yeah, these sessions go, usually we meet up at like 7 p.m. and we get done at like 5 a.m., the
Wow.
next day.
Yeah. So y'all really be really vibing and in the zone if from 7 to
Yeah,
5 a.m. But that's like the artist hours anyway.
it is. Yes, it is.
Any
Yes,
earlier than that, it's like
yeah, you can't get that creative zone until a certain sleepiness kicks in.
right, right. That's true. Okay, because your music really do like if you guys go and listen to Sasha's music, just anything that he's done, it does sound really quantum and
Hmm,
almost like it's created from the subconscious, but it takes a lot of
yeah.
consciousness to almost play it because you're not just it's not to the point where it's so like what do you call it? Abstract to where it's like it's good music. Like you see some painters that throw it on, like throw they paint on a canvas and people like, oh, that's so good because I see this. Like it's that type of thing, but it's not because it's concrete. Like you can like he's playing certain scales in his own way. And I
For
don't know how to
sure.
explain it. You just they would
That's
have
a good way. That's a very good way to explain it.
okay.
And I, you know, especially with this project, I feel like I'm finally kind of reaching a sound that I've heard in my head for many years.
Oh wow.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
Um, Especially with like you mentioned the tempos. For a long time, actually, my first kind of inspiration musically was drum and bass.
Okay. Percussion.
Before I even got into like playing guitar or instruments at all.
Hmm.
Um, I, when I was living in New York with my parents, my mom's brother, who's my uncle, was he was like 15 or 16 at the time, and he got into like the New York kind of like raving techno scene.
Hmm.
And at the time in the early 90s, it was like, or the late 90s at this point, drum and bass was really big. And he got really into it and the whole culture of it. And that was like literally the first and only music other than like my parents, music from our home country that I experienced, and I was just blown away by it. And I tried to just incorporate it into my life however I could, which started with FL Studio.
Okay.
Yeah, so my uncle actually got me that program. He's like, "Oh, look, you can make drum and bass on here." So I started doing that at like 12 years old, I think, something
Whoa.
like that. Yeah, making really simple tracks. And by the time I discovered guitar, I kind of stopped making electronic music, and then
Hmm.
I came back to it years later.
Okay.
I forgot what the question was that led to this, but
Your sound just being you tapping into it
oh
finally.
yeah, yeah. So I guess for a long time I've kind of like wanted to be a drum and bass producer, honestly.
Oh, oh nice.
and and I kind of like I don't know if I gave up on it, but obviously I went a different path and became a jazz guitarist for many years. And
Hmm.
so now I'm coming back to that original dream of like, my like kind of like 9-year-old self's dream of
Bro.
making this music that sounds like this, like
That,
really fast electronic
yeah.
music.
Yeah, I mean, because that's I think is deep and it's dope because like I know for like the last year and even till now we don't know how long everything will last, but it do seem
Yeah.
like everybody's tapping back into their inner child, you
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
back to who they love, and it's like, well, so say if you like to work out or something like that,
Yeah.
um and you like to paint. Two totally separate things seem like, but people been finding ways to incorporate the things that they loved and make it
Yeah.
something new. So to sound like that's what you're saying with your drumming and your percussion, like that you back in alignment with it as well, with
Yeah.
the guitar. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So I want to ask one question too, about the mixing. You say you spend a lot of time on that. Like, what's important about like your mixing? Like, what goes into that?
Oh yeah. Well, uh, prior to working with Deshaun, I think my mixing was very horrible. I will say it was just very. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really have much of a reference. Um, and I didn't even know what to listen for. But after working with Deshaun, I've definitely picked up some tricks, I
Mhm.
guess, that I can share.
Okay.
Uh,
You
yeah.
don't have to
So
if you want to, but
like one of the no, yeah, no, I'd love to.
okay.
One of the most important things that he taught me that I can't believe I never noticed this um, is the importance of the bass. You know, and Deshaun is a really good person to be mentored by, just in any aspect of music because he has this crazy thing with his ears. He has a condition called synesthesia.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if you heard of that, but it's like this. It's basically when your brain is like cross wired and you like can see. You can basically perceive senses
Heightened or something?
with with other senses. Like your senses get cross wired, and you can, for example, there are people with synesthesia who can like see sounds or they can hear smells or like weird things like that.
Mm.
Um, so he has this type of synesthesia where he sees sounds.
Wow.
All sounds produce color to him,
Mhm.
and so becoming a trained musician basically was like very easy for him, or it came very naturally because he could literally see music
Mhm.
and organize it by color.
Mhm.
And so he told me, because he can just see this very easily, that if you listen to any electronic music that's on the radio today, really any music that's on the radio, the bass is very important. It's
Yeah.
pretty much the loudest instrument.
Mhm.
Um, Almost everything sits underneath the bass, volume wise, unless unless there's vocals or like
Right,
spoken
right.
word or whatever. That
Center.
and then that thing will just be just slightly above the bass,
Mhm.
just slightly. But the bass has to be like disrespectfully louder than most of the other instruments.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's just kind of like a rule of thumb. And once I started doing that, my music just became so much better, instantly.
That's dope. Yeah, he sounds
Just that one thing.
yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, the mixing is so important, but let me know if you agree with this or not. It's important, but it's not important that it's perfect. It's important that it sounds the way you envision, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it's just like any aspect of um, music or just actually art in general,
Right.
that there's no such thing as good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just in terms of like that kind of rule that he taught me, um, it's not that that's like the rule that has to be the case, but it's interesting to note and recognize the fact that everything we hear on the radio is that way,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
that if you just apply that, your stuff automatically categorically fits in with everything else.
Right. Right.
You
It's
know
the
what I mean?
science. It's the science.
It sounds up to par, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak.
Yep. It
And
sounds clear.
yeah, and like it's cool to like once I learned that and then started doing comparisons, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's what was missing. I didn't even know that I was missing that bass so much.
Mm-hmm.
um and a specific frequency range of the bass too. Like for
Wow.
him, he's always like, no, put it more into the 80 or 90 k,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, I thought 100K or even somewhat above that was like pretty bassy.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
he's like, no, 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 that's too high. You got to like feel it, feel it in your body, and that's that 80 hertz. And he sees it, of course. Like I don't even have to show him on the computer that 80 hertz is missing. He automatically knows just
He
by
can hear
listening
it.
to it. That's how good his ear is.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. He sounds like a true prodigy and a physicist and also medical
yeah,
because he can see it. But because that's interesting because even when you get VSTs, like say a good one is isotope and it show you like the numbers and stuff like that. And then
yeah, yeah,
it also has this like this tonal balance to where you can kind of like link them up and and say if you solo the sounds of your mix, it'll let you hear the low end and it's like, okay, I got snare in my low end. Let me take that out. So then like your
yeah,
snare shouldn't be going over this this many numbers. I'm not
For
really
sure.
good at
Yeah.
explaining the technical stuff, but like
No, no, no. I know what you're saying.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you like had somebody like the genius like that can like just
Yeah.
you up and communicate it so easy to where it ain't all complicated. It's like, oh, like it's just he can make it that simple.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we gonna talk about too, like how your mixing did kind of like make the sound for the album, even though you said that you
It
don't think
was random.
but I don't know. I think it gave it the sauce. So the first album that I checked out, that was on title that I, got a chance to look up was A Night with Sasha that came out
Oh wow. Yeah.
in 2016. That was
Yeah.
dope. We're gonna talk about that one first. And then you got
Okay.
Cactusaurus. I'm saying it right, Cactusaurus.
Mm. Yep.
Came out in 2019, and Copy
Mm.
Machine that came out
Yes.
2019, and then a 2021 that we just talked about, the Anti-Philosophy Volume 1, Viral.
Hmm.
Um, so the first album, A Night with Sasha, it kind of sounded like very like neo soul, and
Yeah.
it also sounded like your guitar sounded like samples Dilla would have chose to chop up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I had a.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going through a very, very heavy Jay Dilla phase at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even know what else to say.
Oh,
I was literally trying to make it sound like a sample. And it was funny, the equipment that I had at the time was no equipment basically. I had no
hmm.
pedals, no interface even to record. I had just a laptop, and I figured out that I could use the headphone jack on the laptop
Mhm.
and just like plug my guitar cable straight into there with an adapter. And I used Audacity, the software, which
Wow.
is a free software that it's not even like a people don't use that to make beats or anything, but that's all I had.
Ooh, somebody came over. This guy came over and was making beats in Audacity, like trap beats. But yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
He
that
was
is crazy.
recording.
That's
He,
like
he was recording his vinyl in it.
wow. Yeah, yeah. That's like so impressive to me when
Yeah,
somebody can.
Audacity.
Yeah,
I'm just
it
surprised
just
people still use it. Like, it seemed everything seems so advanced. I'm not saying Audacity isn't, but I think like they need to note that. Like that's you can trap
absolutely,
on Audacity is free.
absolutely. It just goes to show that it's more about the artist than the
Mhm,
equipment or
mhm,
software.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in
But yeah,
it,
that's why it sounds so lo-fi. It's because
yeah,
there's no effects, there's no amp, there's no nothing. It's
really?
just yeah, that whole like series of stuff is just straight into Audacity on a laptop.
Oh. Okay, because like the last track on it, the chicken Popeye,
Yeah.
it sounds like you almost mixed it to sound like it was live in a bar.
Yeah, I put like just reverb on it and
Wow.
uh yeah, the bass I pitch a guitar down an octave. That's how
Okay.
the bass lines are.
Oh wow.
Um but yeah, yeah, it's
That's
just
it.
what it
That's
is.
it. Well, it sounds amazing. Like, and especially like how the artwork is. It's like a theater, like a
Okay, so that I actually didn't that album was released by these guys in London actually
okay,
called Martian Bass Records.
okay,
So they chose the artwork, and all these songs on that are actually off of a huge collection that I originally released on SoundCloud
hmm,
called Edibles. It was like 25 tracks, all named after food and stuff. Yeah, so they just chose their favorite ones and compiled it and released it on their platform called Martian Bass Records.
oh wow, that's dope. So they love music over there.
Yeah,
They love it. I
yeah,
love
yeah,
how they appreciate it. And like if they see, it don't matter who you are, how big, how you think nobody know or care about you. Like if a music lover from London like see you and they got
yeah,
resources, they gonna look out. So that
yeah, yeah, for sure.
so have you toured over there or anything?
No, I've never played never played in the UK or anything like that. Um, I don't think I've played in Europe at all, actually. Yeah, I haven't. I flew through there. You know,
You got
there's a lot of connecting flights are through Germany. So
okay,
I've hung out in the Germany airport.
nice. Yeah, I never been, but I think like because you did tour with Common, right? Or
I No, I haven't. Not like on the road with him.
oh, play
I
some.
play. I Yeah, I've played like a couple of basically one-off gigs with him.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
Because I'm about to
for
say
the
you go over
first
there a lot. Yeah.
the first time was at the Jazz Fest,
Uh
the
huh.
Detroit Jazz Fest, which was not. It wasn't Common's show. It was actually
Right.
Kareem Riggins' show.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
And Kareem is one of my most important mentors
Okay.
of the last decade.
Uh huh.
And so, yeah, Kareem put together this band, which included Common and myself,
Uh-huh.
Robert Glasper, who's a huge hero of mine,
Uh-huh.
um, DJ Dummy, and Bishop Boom on bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first time getting to even interact with Common. And after that happened, he had me sub for his regular touring band.
Uh-huh.
When their guitar player got sick, he had me sub.
Yeah.
So that's the extent of me working with Common. So I'm still
Okay.
very grateful for
Okay.
that.
See, I
But I'm
thought
not
it was
his
cool.
regular guitar player.
Not yet, at least. But no,
Yeah.
I think that's super cool. That all the people that you're naming, it's not about them just being established, but it's about them just being like taking their craft so serious. So of course you would be in their realm. And I think your style of guitar really fits Common's mission with music and artists like Common, you
Hmm.
know. So I think that's really
Thank
dope.
you.
Yeah, I just asked that because I just know like, they love him. They love that real hip hop over there, overseas. So
Yeah, yeah,
I thought if
yeah,
you toured with him, you would have been, been there or but I think you should put that on your
yeah.
bucket list or something. Like to tour
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
love it.
I'd love to.
Yeah. You'll get free
Yeah,
everything.
I've been out of the country a little bit,
Mhm.
playing music, uh, and it was a really cool experience. First time ever was with Mahogany Jones, who
Okay.
has also been one of my most important mentors over the years.
Nice.
And yeah, that was actually like a breakthrough in general moment in my career working with her, because when I first came to the city in 2008. Uh, I used to go to the old Miami. I
Yeah.
think it was every Wednesday at the time. Yeah, it
Mhm.
was like this cipher thing that she hosted, Mahogany
Yeah.
Jones.
I'd have been in a cipher with her too. She real nurturing.
Yes, yeah, I used to just go there just to hear everybody. And I remember like coming up to her after the show a couple of times and just being such like a nerdy, fanboy, just like, oh my God, you're so dope. And she didn't even know that I play guitar or anything.
Mhm.
But years later, um, like 2013 maybe,
Mhm.
there was like this like jam session thing going on at the 5E gallery.
Yeah, the church.
Yeah, yeah, and she was also hosting that.
Mhm.
And it was like a cipher and a jam session, so it was like musicians showing up, and I was like, oh, this is my opportunity,
Right.
to go and show off to Mahogany Jones. So I went and did that, and she took my number, and we ended up like, it started out, we just made some Instagram videos together, and yeah, eventually she asked me to go on tour with her.
Nice. Okay, so is
And
she the
after,
first? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, yeah,
I was about to say,
yeah,
is
that
she
was.
like the first artist that you like worked with here?
She's not the first artist that I worked with, but
Okay.
definitely the first major artist,
Okay.
probably. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I started out in 2008, which is when I started going to school at Wayne State.
Mhm.
Um, that's when
What you
I
study there?
got my, what was that?
What you study here? Guitar?
Music. Yeah,
Okay.
I went for music.
Okay.
Um, yep. I dropped out though. I never finished that. But it was a good opportunity to meet people, I
Right.
will say. Um, yeah, that was actually how I first started working. Is I met some people, around my age who were
Mhm.
also playing jazz.
Mhm.
and I started getting called to play at places like Baker's,
Yeah.
Burt's, the Caju Cafe.
Yeah.
Eventually Cliff Bell's, which was like for a long time that was like my goal. Is like, oh, if I can get a Cliff, a
Right.
date
Right.
at Cliff Bell's, I've made it.
Right.
Um, of course, now I have bigger goals, I think. But yeah, Cliff Bell's is not even the greatest place to play. You can edit that out. But yeah, that's how it all started. Um, but yeah, Mahogany Jones.
Nice.
So grateful for her.
Nice. Well, shout out to her. Um,
Yes.
so we're gonna talk about the next album, which is Cactusaur. And like
Okay.
that's like my favorite one. And like that's when
Oh,
I'm
thank
like,
you.
well, I definitely got to talk to him about this one because I feel like that don't sound like anything ever. It don't sound like
Wow.
your previous one as well, but that one
Yeah.
sounds like very dreamy and also like lo-fi.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds very lo-fi. So I just want to know, like, oh yeah, too. When I had put it on my story, because this summer, like, I was living here. I'm in the North End. I think that album
Mm.
it make me. I don't know when I turn on that album when I'm over here, like riding my bike or like walking or something. It just feels like over here for some reason. You do that make sense? Like it feels like
Yeah.
Detroit, that historic.
Wow. Thank you so much.
For
I'm
sure,
overjoyed.
for
I'm
sure.
just so happy that anybody even listens to my albums.
He humble, y'all. He's dope. I had put it on my Instagram story um one time because I was sitting by the door and it was raining. I was about to go ride my bike to Bilal, but I couldn't, and because it was
Mm.
raining. So I stepped by the door and I turned that album on, and then I recorded the outside raining, and your song was in a on my Bluetooth, and
Mm.
one of my friends from she's from St. Louis, but she lives in Georgia, and she was just like, "Woo, like this is very like that jazz is very it's moody jazz. Detroit is best known for it." And I didn't even realize it because I don't really know much about like Detroit jazz. But when she said like the moody jazz is very Detroit, it made me think like we do got such a rich jazz history here. And like
Definitely.
that album, I feel like people Detroiters, I don't know. I feel like I don't know how we get everybody to know it, but I feel like think that album really painted the perfect soundscape for the sound of Detroit. Just like
Wow. That's
that.
an honor. Thank you so much.
Sure, for sure. Like that. I'm not the best descriptor, I'm like that with books. I can definitely write better, but it's just like,
I agree with everything you're saying.
okay, for sure. Because we got the rappers. They like, oh, he sound like Detroit, but we also got jazz. Like jazz
Yeah.
is hip hop. Like it would be no hip hop without jazz or blues. Even the trap today, like that's all it is. Like they're using guitar samples and
Yeah.
I think. But so I just said it to say like that was dope how you could just paint that soundscape and like what made you go with that sound, or was it even just you didn't even think about it? It just what you was on at that time.
Well, I'd definitely like to continue to pay homage, I guess. When you say it sounds like Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
I I I I think that nothing could be truer than that because everything that I know is been, taught to me by all the great Detroit legends that I've been so blessed to get connected with. Um, yeah. Earlier, we talked about me being self-taught, and I think that to a large degree, everybody that plays music is self-taught
Yeah, yeah,
because you
yeah.
kind of have to, you know, you have to form your own understanding.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um, but and I also say that I'm self-taught because I didn't have lessons early on.
Yeah,
I didn't do like the band, classes and stuff.
yes, sir.
Uh, I just kind of did it for myself in my room, just for fun. But once I came to Detroit, I I would say that I'm Detroit taught. you know,
That's real.
everything I know. I mean every one of my tendencies is things that I've just picked up from everybody around here.
Mhm.
Um, and for a long time, I really I really just kind of wanted to how do I put this? Kind of just get up to speed, if that makes sense. Like when I first started going to shows and going to like different jam sessions and just seeing the level of musicianship around here back in 2008,
Mhm.
I was really like just felt like I was not good enough. I was like, I almost wanted to give up at that point. Like wow, I'm so far behind. Like I don't even know how I'm gonna ever get here. So yeah, for a long time I just wanted to be good enough to even just sit in with people around here. And yeah, so every that album is like just like everything I've ever learned from everybody, all like mixed together.
Oh,
You
nice,
know?
nice. Just
Yeah.
I can understand that. Like you said, and what's also interesting is also too how you said you learned you was Detroit taught. I think that's how Detroiters get everything because it's like they don't got music in our schools. So even a person that's like born here and they have a guitar and they live in Detroit, for the most part, they're gonna be self-taught. Like for me, I learned through books. I like so I feel like I'm not that self-taught because somebody did introduce it to me, but they didn't sit down. They
Right.
told me how to read it like FACE. Every good boy does fine.
Mm,
From there, it was
mm,
there, and that's how Detroit is. I think it is like even with the businesses, like a lot of people with businesses here didn't go to business school or even go to college, but they started it
yeah.
by watching other people what worked for them, what didn't work for them, or just having
Yeah.
that desire. So even I don't know, I feel like when people like if they listen to like your music, I think that's what jazz is, even because it's not lyrics, but it's a feeling, it's an expression, like Miles,
Yeah.
like the sentimental mood with Miles, was that his famous one of his famous?
In a sentimental mood.
Right, right.
Yeah.
For everybody, they may hear something different, but we all know like he wasn't it wasn't him on a Ferris. Well, it could have been him on a Ferris wheel, just really in his thoughts. But I don't know. You can just tell where they was going with it, and I don't know. That's what I feel about this. Like it just paints the vibe of Detroiters too as well. Like gritty, fast paced,
Yes.
grinder.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why.
Yes. Rawness.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's too. It's kind of like I just like it's perfect for like I said, I like to listen to it when I'm riding my bike or if I'm
Mm,
doing yoga. Those are the times when I listen to it. And I remember when you put it out because that was like I think like I said that was the first one that I and took like the whole like body of it, whatever like that. I forgot where I
mm.
was going with that though. I'm getting old. What was I saying? Okay. I forgot where I was going with it, but basically the feeling, the vibe of it. Oh yeah, I was saying
I
what
appreciate it so much.
for sure. So I was just saying like where people can like just listen to it. Oh yeah, the guitar playing in it. Um, it's not pretty. It's pretty. It's beautiful, and it is pretty guitar melodies and stuff like that. But it's not meant to just for you to just be wild because it's a good. You know what I'm saying? Just basic bar structure. It's really like it's mind blowing. Like the speed in which
Oh,
you
thank you.
playing it. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just no basic. It could be basic chords. Who knows? I don't know. Like it could just be, but it sounds super complex, and I don't know how to explain it. Y'all just gotta listen to it.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's complex.
Okay, it's
I'm
okay,
trying
but
to
it
make it.
sounds complex. It sounds, and then it's like I just like the
Yeah.
pace of it. I like the pace of it, and I think that's what we've been missing in a guitar for a while. Everybody just been
Mm.
when they pretty little licks, and you got pretty little licks. Don't get me wrong, but it's just something there that's that ain't there right now as far as I've been listening to it, especially in the pop world. I just say that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Pop music is definitely. I mean, like one of my latest songs, which I haven't put out yet.
Okay.
Um, I remember uh, my this guy, one of my best friends, who's I asked to play bass on it, was
Mhm.
just so mad at. He was just so mad at me about this song because it has the chord progression is 80 chords. It doesn't repeat. There's no repeats for 80 different chords.
That's crazy.
And what who does that? When you turn on the radio, pop music, chord progressions are,
Four,
you
two, 4 or 3 licks.
yeah, maybe four chords. Yeah, sometimes only four chords, right?
Yep.
Who does 80? Well, that's why I did that because I haven't heard anyone else do that. So said, yeah, let's do 80 different chords.
So you a pioneer.
I'm trying to be. Yeah, I think music is to me music is like I think some people might think that I'm like competitive with
Mhm,
music.
mhm,
I would say that that's not inaccurate necessarily.
mhm,
I
mhm.
do view music as like kind of a scientific competition, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not like a sport kind of competition where somebody wins and therefore somebody loses. I think that everybody wins with music, you know, whether you love just listening to music or you
Right,
enjoy playing music, you win. You know
mhm,
what I mean? It's like one of the best gifts of life, I think.
right.
But there is a competitive aspect in like discovery, I think. I think
Yeah,
people want to be like the first to discover something in music. It's almost like with science, you want to be like the first person on the moon. But
right.
that doesn't mean that everybody else lost because they weren't the first. We've all won because we've now set foot on the moon.
Mhm.
And now there's more possibilities for all of us
Right.
because
Now
of
we can
that.
go to another planet now that we know you can go to the moon, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how I view like certain like, heroes of mine, like Jimi Hendrix, for example. Many
Right.
people would say he's like the greatest of all time, while others would say that no, Van Halen is the greatest of all time. Well, to me, they're both some of the greatest of all time, because they discovered something. Like really, there's Jimi Hendrix doesn't have any competition because who else was doing that at the
He
time?
got his own
he
style.
he, he created his own lane,
Right,
and
right,
so there is no competition.
right.
But but the reason people call him one of the greatest of all time is because he was the first to do that, and now we all get to do that. We
Mhm.
all get to learn from it. So yeah, I think like I, I'm competitive in that way. Like I'm trying to search for something that I can contribute for everyone. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right.
It's not necessarily about me being great.
Mhm.
It's more about like being able to give back to the thing that's to this community that's given so much to me.
Oh, that's so nice.
And, and like just yeah, like I think that the term greatest of all time, like goat, like I want to be a goat and I want to inspire everyone that, you can be a goat too. We can all be a goat in our own lane.
That's so nice. He making us feel good about ourselves. But that's so true. It's so true. And like for 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 you, when I see you play, because I didn't think I told you I wanted lessons and stuff like that. But it's like when you play, even when you just on Instagram, you know what I'm saying, and you playing something, it's like you said, it's not competitiveness, but it's like we all know the skill of C. But it's like,
Sure.
what can I do with what I know? What can I make new with what we already all know? Like, what can I do differently with it? What can I create
Yeah.
differently with it? So maybe you will play in a 6/8. Everybody not playing in that. I don't know if you do, don't you? I think you do. Or 6/8. Do you play in 6/8?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So you might be that person do that. Me, I'm probably never gonna mess with that. The most I do is
Okay.
like 3/3. I like the waltz type stuff, but like
Okay.
you just take the bigger leaps with music and playing guitar, you know. And I was watching this interview with John Mayer, and it was supposed to be like a parody, but he was just
Mm.
trying to saying like he tired of playing the same old chords. Like he was like, I just discovered the Z chord. But it was funny because I got it. He was saying like I want to do something different. I know all the like he feel like he done mastered everything, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's, one way to maybe find something that nobody else has done before
Hmm,
is
hmm.
to check out what everybody else has done before.
Go the opposite, right?
If you know what all has been done, then you can maybe more quickly figure out what hasn't been done by just process of elimination.
Right,
And
right, right.
I guess that's part of my like journey with music is I kind of just I kind of just want to know what everything is. When I hear
Exactly.
something that I can't recognize immediately, like I just want to find out how did they do that, even if I don't necessarily want to do it for myself. I
Right.
just want to know what everything is,
That's a
so that I
wisdom
can be
drop.
better equipped.
Yeah, I think people like that what he just said, like definitely take notes of that because that once you got that mindset, like music is open to you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
For
about a
sure.
journey. It's not just want to get money or be famous or be known or be or even it's not about being the best. It's about just it's knowledge. It's kind of like when you start learning about nutrition and then you just keep going further and further with it. It's not because you want to be healthier than
Yeah.
everybody else. You just want to know everything there is to know about that because it interests
Yeah.
you. So that's
For
cool.
sure.
So that can segue us into coffee machine, copy machine, because that one sound very
Okay.
futuristic, you know,
Hmm.
very futuristic. And I didn't really hear that much drums on there, but it was a lot of
Oh
percussion,
yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
percussion,
Yeah.
sound effects, and um just a lot of not distortion, but phase. I don't even know how to explain the sound effects. I can say what I thought I heard, but even that, it kind of I don't know what I heard. Like it's like it's just that different. So what went into you
Thank you.
making that one?
I actually made that one, I think, within the same 2 or 3 months as I made Cactusaur, but I
Okay.
spaced them out
Yeah, because
as
it came
far
out
as the
the same
release.
year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I made both of them like, you know, I have a lot of music that I
Mhm.
just sit on.
Okay,
A
okay, okay.
lot of the stuff that I release is like backdated quite a bit,
Oh.
honestly. Um, yeah. So I have so much stuff that I've never released and so much stuff that I'm like waiting to release. And those two albums is an example of that. I don't know when I released them, but it it was like almost a full year before that I created them.
Okay, nice.
Um, but yeah, but yeah, I was going for roughly the same in my mind. I was going for roughly the same sound as Cactusaur. And you mentioned a phaser. I'll tell you exactly what you're hearing.
Okay.
It's this plugin. It's a free plugin actually that you can download called MGF Time Warp.
Okay, I gotta write that down. MGF.
And then what it is it's like a vibrato basically.
Okay.
And I applied that to like the master track of every song on both of those albums. So it sounds like it's like going out of tune and like kind of
Yes.
wavy.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. That's on the master channel of all every song. So
Put that
the
on the back
drums, the
channel.
bass. Yeah, I put that on the master. So
Crazy.
everything is like going out of tune but together. So
Right.
it's not like the instruments aren't out of tune with each other.
Mhm.
They're just out of tune with our like typical like tonal system of 440 or whatever.
Yeah. See, I'm saying, see, you say you're not good at mixing, but like that took some creativity to even do and think. Like that's a part of mixing as well.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
and you know when I showed that to Deshaun, he was like, "What are you doing?" Because it is a cool effect, but ultimately, what he showed me is that it was like really degrading the quality of my drums. So,
But that's what made it. But I get
yeah,
what you both.
thank you
I get it. But that's what made it what it was.
for sure.
That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
because the other album, like you said, like Cactusaur, that sounded lo-fi. Like, and who knows if you
yeah.
even try to make it lo-fi, but that's why people love lo-fi, because it doesn't sound like so perfect. It is
For
supposed to.
sure.
If matter of fact, with lo-fi, if it sounds perfect or too neat, or if it don't have crackling and all, then it ain't lo-fi. It's like a art form.
Yeah,
And so the way
yeah, for
you
sure.
mix your stuff is a art form. It's like a haiku. Like everybody may not like haikus. They may think they just, but it's the way you mix it. It makes it that art. And people that love art and music and creativity, they would appreciate it even more. You get what I'm saying? Than it
Mm.
sounding like a pretty jazz. But I
Well,
get, I
thank you.
get what Deshaun is, what somebody else would say. I guess I get it, but
Well, he wasn't against the
okay,
effect overall. He
right.
just he just he I guess he taught me the importance of doing things before the master channel
Okay,
because the master is like um, that's like the quality of the track.
right, right.
So if you can get that lo-fi sound before you get to the master,
Yeah, yeah.
that's better.
Yep.
Yeah, that gives you
But
more
that yeah.
flexibility. So.
Yep. That's how I do, I do it, but that's the basic, I just know the basics. But I think I'm gonna try it. I don't say
Yeah,
it.
try out that plugin, MGF Time Warp. It's
Okay,
completely free and it's a pretty small file.
nice. Okay, I definitely will. I wrote it down. So, who introduced you to the guitar?
Ah, um, that was honestly pure coincidence. Uh, because when my family moved to Michigan,
Hmm.
uh, my next door neighbor, who became one of my best friends and still is one of my best friends to this day, and is actually the bass player on some of the tracks on Anti Philosophy.
Okay.
Uh, his name is Mike Tor, and we met. I was about 11 or 12, and his older brothers, had like this rock band at the time, and they were all like in high school and college. And so, yeah, me and Mike, who were best friends, just thought that his brothers were the coolest people ever because they were in a rock band. They were basically in like a Metallica cover band.
Oh wow.
And so, yeah, I used to go over his house every day and just mess. They had like a basement set up with instruments. They had like a couple of guitars, electric guitars, a bass guitar, an organ, a drum set. And I was just messing around on all of that stuff.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was about 15, I think, 15 or 16, that I got my first guitar,
Hmm.
uh, acoustic Yamaha from Sam's Club.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It was like one of those like beginner kits. It came with a tuner and like all the little like basic things
He was
that
probably
you need to
excited.
play guitar.
Like my first guitar. You got an acoustic.
Yep,
That's cool.
yep.
That's so. What style would you play in at first?
We were well at first. The very first things I actually learned were like these classic rock songs that Mike already knew how to play. So
Wow.
when I met my friend Mike, he was like, he was kind of like my music teacher
Mhm.
basically, because he already knew like a bunch of songs, Metallica songs mostly, on guitar and bass.
Mhm.
And so he started teaching me that stuff, and we would play it together. And then we got really into funk for some reason. We got like really into like disco and 70s like funky playing. Actually, because of his brothers. Yeah, his brothers were like checking out, like they were really into Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
like they're like funky ish. And then me and Mike discovered like no, like the real shit is funk, like
Right. Right. That's what,
70s.
yep.
That's what Red Hot Chili Peppers are trying to do. So we started doing that, and then we discovered Herbie Hancock and the Headhunters.
Oh wow.
That was the point that we transitioned into jazz officially.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was kind of just like me and Mike we were kind of like pushing each other musically, I guess,
Mhm.
like that competitive thing. um yeah, we were just kind of like, it was like a thing because we weren't into sports. We were like the weird kids in our class, so this was the thing that we did to just kind of like just be young boys and be competitive. We were like, who can learn the craziest licks, and we went down the path of jazz because we decided that was like the craziest, most advanced music.
Right. Okay. Nice. Did you go to art school, like art high school?
Mm-mm. I went to Adlai Stevenson in Sterling Heights.
Okay. And that's just a regular high school.
Yeah, just a public high school.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll be just
and
trying
and
to.
I also didn't take any music classes
Wow.
until my senior year. That was actually a very important transitionary period for me because my parents were like definitely against the idea of me doing anything like musical for a career. Uh, and so they didn't even allow me to take band classes in grade school at all. That's how serious they were about me not playing music. But so I like chose all my electives to be like oriented around like real world professions. So I went with the path of architecture and engineering. So I like took all these classes for engineering and stuff. And after I had completed like the engineering course twice in by 11th grade, I was like, Mom, please, like there's no more electives that are even available for me. Just let me take one band class. and she let me take jazz band, and
Shout out to
uh,
mom.
that was like the year that everything changed for me.
Right.
Yes, that was one thing. Thank you.
That's dope. Right. Good she did, because
Yeah,
then we wouldn't the universe would have made a way for you to be in our worlds, but having jazz band and just
perhaps.
seeing what goes into it that young is very important. That's interesting. Yeah. I think I got into music at the same time in 12th grade. Like that's when I started singing, and like people just
Mm,
thinking that was like my whole life. Kind of like I was by myself in my own room, but I never knew what pitch was. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know. So
for
like
sure.
that's why it is important, something like a little bit of education or just seeking knowledge in it, and then playing with your peers at that age too. And like, whoa, I'm colder than them. Playing guitar.
Exactly.
Like I'm special. Like you see how
I
special
mean,
I am.
I mean, honestly, I think that is I think that happens with a lot of that's certainly how it happened for me because like I said, me and Mike, we didn't realize what we were even doing at that time. It was just something fun. And then we actually both joined jazz band. Uh, his parents are very similar to mine, actually. Well, no, not very. My parents are take it a step further, but his parents are also immigrants,
Mhm.
and they're also very much against music and stuff like that. So we actually both took jazz band together in senior year of high school, and yeah, it was like this thing where we weren't like trying to, or definitely didn't expect it, but we were automatically the best musicians in the band,
Mhm.
like in our first year of joining, and it was just kind of like a uh, an you know an epiphanal moment for me.
Yep.
I was like, wait a minute, like maybe I could do this as a career or something.
Yep.
That
'Cause-
was the first time that I thought that.
Yeah, because what is important, like you didn't make it. I mean, you was doing it because it was fun, like guitar. So you was already,
Exactly.
if you doing something because it's fun, you practicing your scales, you learning more,
Yeah.
you taking advice from other people, you open to that. You already a step further than a person that is getting lessons all the time because their parents taking them, because it's like you already got the
They're
discipline
not.
that you can't teach. you know,
Yes. Yeah. They're not doing it because they maybe truly want to. It's
right,
just a
right.
thing.
And your
Band
mom ain't
class. It's
telling
just
you
a
to
thing.
practice. You just practicing because you practicing, not even like I'm scheduling to practice, just I practice like this is what I do because I want to get better. Like so
Oh, that was my escape, honestly. Like I used to practice way more in high school than I do now. I used to actually sometimes 8 hours a day just straight guitar playing, just because I loved it so much. I didn't even call it practicing at the time.
right,
I just
right.
it was just, this is just what I love to do, and I'm gonna do it as soon as I get home from school until I pass out.
Like playing a video game. You know how
Yeah,
kids do it. It's like they not playing because they just playing because they love it.
exactly.
But what's his do you know Maestro Segovia?
No.
Okay, so he's a classical guitarist, like he's like the Jimi Hendrix in classical guitar. And
Mm,
he played his entire life. He lived to a very old age, but he's
mm.
up all the way into his 80s, or he said he practiced 8 hours a day guitar.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's too late to get back into it. But you seem like you practice, like every time I see your videos is you playing. So that's why I'm like, man, this man breathes
I
guitar.
still practice every day.
Yeah,
I
like
still practice every day. And it's more focused now. Now it's really like
recording.
when I get a chance to practice, I'm like, okay, this is practice. What
Mhm.
do, what do I need to work on? It's much more. I think my practice is much better now. Um, I and so I don't need to do it for as many hours, but I do wish I could. I maybe practice about 2 to 3 hours on average every day.
That's still amazing. Honestly, 10 minutes
That,
is good, but 3 hours, you know what I'm saying?
and that's a like combining everything that I do throughout the
Okay.
day, which also may include
Yeah.
playing a gig or doing a session with somebody.
hmm That's
Yeah,
what I wanted
and
to
and
talk about. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say no. That's also just an average. There are definitely days that I don't pick up the guitar at all,
For
just
sure.
because of being an
You,
adult with some responsibilities or whatever.
mhm. And
Um,
that's healthy too, to not. just to walk away from it, or not walk away, but put it down.
For
Because when I
sure.
put my guitar, or say if I go over somebody's house, because for the most part, I like to be at home. I don't know why people think we don't be doing nothing, music, like we just like to be at home, like we be
Right.
working. But so if I
Yeah.
go over somebody else's house, I'm not working. If I stay like a week, I'll be like missing my guitar. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
Me
a
too. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I want to talk about how did you get into playing gigs at first? I wanted to first to say I want people to know this to just see how they can like start or where to start or some ideas of how you started to get some ideas about how they want to approach putting themselves out there with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, when I first kind of started just being around the city,
Uh-huh.
like not just Metro Detroit, but specifically like downtown Detroit,
Yeah.
in around 2008,
Uh-huh.
I kind of made it my job to go to every either performance or jam session that I could find out about. And the first ones that I found out about were just through some of my classmates and professors at Wayne State. I was just like, where can I hear some great jazz in Detroit? And people pointed me to clubs like Baker's, Burt's, Cliff Bell's, the Dirty Dog. That's another important one.
Oh, Ferndale.
Um, uh, Grosse Point, I think.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I know.
Um, or St. Clair Shores, maybe. Ah,
Not
anyways.
Ferndale.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm forgetting a couple other ones. But all the historical kind of clubs, and I literally just made it like my priority to go to as many different shows and jam sessions as I could.
Uh-huh.
Uh, for like probably 4 years, I would at least go to one show or jam session per week. And especially at the jam sessions, like I mentioned earlier, it was just this thing where I felt like, oh, I need to catch up with everybody. Like I want to just be able to hang. Like I want to be one of them. uh I want to be one of the musicians in this scene.
Right, right.
um and that was just a very important transition period for me of you know basically like meeting a lot of people, asking them a lot of questions. It started out really with me being like, I could tell that I was the annoying person
Right.
in the room. You know what I mean? I could tell, but it's almost like I didn't care because I wanted so bad to be one of them. I just kept, coming up to everybody, introducing myself, trying to ask and learn anything I could. Like literally, like at the jam session, I would be like, man, like, can you show me that lick you played? And sometimes people would really not be trying to show me anything.
Yep.
But but eventually, people started warming up to me. I started improving,
Mhm.
and yeah, eventually, I guess I just got good enough because of that. Uh,
Yeah.
I really wasn't getting like I like I said, my first couple of gigs were in 2018. I mean, sorry, 2008. But I really wasn't like working steadily or making enough money as a musician at that point.
Right,
It was
right.
like I literally just got lucky enough to play like 4 or 5 gigs that year, I think. My first gigs ever.
Yep.
And meanwhile, I was also going to school, working at a calendar store.
Calendar.
Uh, yeah, yeah, I had a
Heard
job
of-
at this calendar store. Uh, um, I had a couple of weird jobs at the time. I was a dishwasher at the DoubleTree Hotel downtown. uh, and I was also a cashier at Rite Aid at one point.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so I did that and just went to jam sessions for like 4 years before I really started being like a full-time working musician.
Nice. Okay, because I think that's how I seen you. I think you was playing for Natasha.
Natasha Blue.
Oh, I love her. I stand. But
Oh yeah,
you had the looper pedal, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta learn how to do that because I always wanted to. That I didn't know people did it with the live, but I guess that's a lot of people do, but I didn't know. I didn't really know much
for sure.
about music. But I see you with a lot of people. honestly, I don't really go to that many shows, but I've seen you. You know, I've seen you live a few times, and even when you do stuff for Instagram with people, and I always think that's
Yeah,
really cool how you're able to just play the rhythm so smooth, and just you just real
thank you.
smooth with it for sure, for sure. So we never work together, hopefully, but I don't even. Oh, I got some of your loops, but as far as like the music, one day, um,
Anytime, I'm always down.
man, I just gotta have something good. I want you on something like epic.
Okay.
Uh,
Anything, yeah, I'd love to work.
for sure, man. Same. Okay. So what's your favorite style of guitar playing? And also,
Hmm.
what's your favorite style of like? What's your favorite like guitar? Too.
Type of guitar?
Yeah.
Um, okay. I think I just like anything that's kind of like either hollow or semi-hollow. Is probably my
Okay. Uh-huh.
favorite type of tone. Just a little bit of an acoustic, like an acoustic quality, but still an electric guitar.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I don't know. I can't say if there's any specific brand. I haven't tried that many,
Okay.
to be honest.
Yeah.
I like my Gibson. I'm sure anybody who knows me has seen me with the gray Gibson guitar, which is a ES 335,
Uh-huh.
which
What
is a
was you playing?
semi-hollow.
What was you playing earlier? What was that guitar? It looked acoustic, but
This one,
yeah.
this is a fully hollow. Yeah,
Okay.
so this is my fully hollow electric guitar. It's a D'Angelico, one of
Oh,
their lower end models.
wow. Yeah, I just watched the YouTube
Yeah.
thing for them. Play something.
Yeah. Uh, how well can you
Oh,
hear that? I think it's coming through this earpiece only.
we can hear it. We can hear it. And that
Okay.
you don't got that plugged up. It's just acoustic. You playing it acoustically.
Yeah, it's just
It's
acoustic right
electric.
now.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's dope. That's a beautiful guitar.
Thank you. Yeah, I think my favorite type of guitars is just anything that has somewhat acoustic quality to it.
Okay. Okay.
Um, of course, this is a fully acoustic guitar that just basically has a pickup on it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And that, although I love the sound of it, is terrible in live shows because it gets so
Okay.
much feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and also kind of has a muddy, like when you play it with a whole band with
Mhm.
drums and bass. The tone of it doesn't cut through the mix as well as either a semi-hollow or a solid body.
Right. Right. Okay. And what's your favorite style of playing? Is it jazz or is it like what is it? You know what I'm saying?
Uh yeah, I don't know. That's hard to answer. I would say that I feel the most comfortable, I guess, playing traditional jazz.
Okay.
I think that you know p- some people that I work with don't even know that I play traditional jazz. Like for example, in the church, they only hear me playing like in a church kind of style.
Yeah.
But what they don't know is that I actually kind of feel uncomfortable playing. Like I kind of have to really focus, to not accidentally play the things that I play my own tendencies, which are very much rooted in traditional jazz. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to fake it like I'm like a church guitarist almost, or in my mind, I feel like I'm faking it. Um,
So is it because you got to tone down?
I think it's because traditional jazz is like I learned it so early on. I learned it before I had an even understanding of the world or myself or anything. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think that in general, like things that humans learn before they hit a certain age, it's almost like it becomes integrated with your mind.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, one example of that is people who have perfect pitch, which I don't have perfect pitch. But some of my friends that, some of my best friends that I work with a lot have perfect pitch, and they developed it at like when they were like 4 years old. And what I've learned about perfect pitch is that anybody can develop it, but it's like you have to do it before a certain age. It's kind of like the way that we recognize colors,
Yep.
because from a very early age we
Okay.
literally train our brain to decipher and categorize colors.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like all colors are completely different all around us, but we have this system of categorizing them. Like
Okay.
we can say, well, this is blue, and this is also blue, but this blue is a little darker, or has a little more
Okay.
green in it,
Wow.
things
Yeah.
like that. People with perfect pitch have the same thing literally happens when they hear any sound. It's like their brain just puts it into a bucket, like a category.
Mhm.
Like my friend Ian, who has ridiculous sense of perfect pitch, he'll like walk by a light bulb and be like, "Oh yeah, that's a B flat,"
That's
and
crazy.
he'll even tell you it's not exactly a B flat. It's like slightly between B flat and B natural
You
or
can hear the
something like that.
tones on them.
And the reason for that is because literally since he was very young, his brain was like wired and trained to categorize any frequency,
Right.
like every time he hears an F sharp, he just, his mind is like, oh, that goes in the F sharp bucket. You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense now that you put pitch like that and how you made it with color and how we categorize it. I understand it now. Like I understand.
I forget what the original question was. Dang
What was
it.
your favorite style of playing? And then, oh, did you have to tone down your guitar playing for church? But then we went
How
to
did I don't know how I got to perfect pitch.
everybody.
Um,
You said everybody don't got you don't got perfect.
oh yeah, so yeah, that's where I was going with this. So I don't have perfect pitch, but I think what I have is a very strong relative pitch.
Okay.
Meaning that, like, when I listen to music, something that I've never heard before,
Mhm.
I can basically map it out in my head of how it should look on the guitar.
Right.
Not in the exact right key, but with the exact correct intervals and progression. Like
Mhm.
I actually categorize everything in my head with numbers.
Mhm.
So like somebody who with perfect pitch, they'll be like, you put on a song and they'll be like, oh, that's an F sharp minor chord, and then
Right.
it goes to a G major 7 chord. They'll tell you the exact note, but what I can't do that. But what I can do is I'll be like, oh, that's um, you know, that's a 1 minor 7 chord, and then it goes to a flat 2 major 7 chord or something like that.
Mhm.
So I'll basically describe the whole song with numbers,
Right.
and those
Theory.
numbers can be put into any key.
Right.
But anyways, so the point that I'm getting to is I trained myself to do that by ear at a very early age.
Wow. Yeah, that makes
So now, like, I'm able to basically learn songs without even picking up my guitar. I'm able to like learn licks, and I'm able to practice in my head basically and hear it.
hmm.
And so when you hear me like freestyle or whatever, like you asked me what's my favorite style of playing.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm trying to answer that with, I don't know if this is my favorite style, but this is what naturally comes out of me when I don't think or try, just
Oh,
because it's so much a part of me. Like, uh, it's literally ingrained in my head. It's what I hear all the time. So sort of.
jazz. Just jazz, like the classical jazz.
Kind of, yeah.
Or maybe
And like I said, with church, I have a hard time not just accidentally playing that way over the church music. You know what I mean?
well that's dope though, because I think
Like in church, they might play a chord like this, you know, and
seven.
that's a yeah, like a seventh chord, a dominant seventh chord.
Mm.
And in church, there's certain like licks that you expect to go over that, like
Yeah.
stuff like that, which I had to really take time to study those tendencies, because when I hear that chord, I want to play, but
Right,
that's not churchy. That's way too much information for the church style.
right, right.
But
They
that's
want
just
that,
what I hear. When I
right,
hear a seventh chord, I want to add, I want to add all those colors to it
Right.
because that's just what I hear in my head
Yeah,
immediately.
that's
Like the
beautiful.
a lot of the like the ideas that I play when I'm not thinking, I literally hear them before I play them.
Oh, wow.
Like, and I try to do that actually. I try to kind of just like quiet my mind and just like, what do I hear next? Ah, that will go there, and then I try to play it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's beautiful. Especially how you can easily play the distinctions between a jazzy and then a churchy, and that's
It's like
genius.
different. It's like different dialects, like
Right, right,
different dialects of a similar language.
right. Like slang. Okay, so
Yeah.
how are you working with time right now?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah,
You
I'm
good?
free for the
Okay.
rest of the day.
I got maybe five more questions, which is very I want to go into the technology and social media aspect of like your musical journey, but I got to
Okay.
get my charger for my laptops because I don't want it to die. So I'll be
Okay.
right
Okay. Go ahead.
back.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Just doing some practicing.
Yeah, just messing around, improvising.
Sounds good. What key was you just in?
How loud is it? Maybe
I can hear perfectly.
um hmm. Uh well this moving around keys kind of
Okay,
constantly.
okay.
Yeah.
That's not easy stuff.
Or more so just being free, not
Yeah,
I'm just kind of moving freely between
mhm,
keys where whatever I hear next.
right. And then but it all is in the same relative world. Cause it,
Uh Not necessarily. I mean, it's all I'm, I'm using all the notes basically, all 12. There's
okay,
only 12 notes.
right.
That's one of the things that really freed me about
Mhm,
musically, when I realized just the kind of like the basic math of what we're working with.
mhm,
Literally only 12 different notes,
mhm, right.
So, and then for roughly 700 years, all of the world's popular music has been based around just 12 notes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like as soon as you start checking out what anybody else has done with these notes, you start to get you start to formulate your own ideas of what you can do. And the more I like find out, the more I realize there's nothing that you can't do. Literally, you know what I mean?
Where it frees
Ab-
you.
there, there's
'Cause it,
absolutely nothing that's wrong. It's just a bunch of different approaches, different
I, I
recipes,
love
different formulas.
I love that you said that because like for me, my understanding of music, because I didn't have a background in education in music, I kind of definitely like compartmentalize everything. Like you can't do this, you can't do that. Like only A minor and C major will work together, and nothing else with the like the
Yeah,
relative or
yeah,
the relative minor major, and that's it. So, but you saying like everything is everything, like everything is related, or what I'm saying. So that do sound more free.
well,
Go ahead.
I think that those those kind of like, I won't say rules, but
Yeah.
those standards that get established, so to
Mhm,
speak, of like, oh, I wouldn't play that over that.
mhm.
I think what that comes from is literally just like new styles that have emerged.
Okay.
Every time that you're dealing in a certain style, like for example, if you want to write exactly like Mozart, you wouldn't write something like that because Mozart would never do that. That
Right.
is actually wrong in the context of Mozart's music,
Right.
but it's not wrong in somewhere else.
Right.
And so that I guess that's where I'm getting at is like, of course you're going to run into these like tendencies and formulas and standards if you're trying to accomplish a very certain style,
Right.
especially
Okay.
emulating somebody
Right.
else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, there's nothing wrong with like, you know, going by something where like, oh yeah, I want to only stay in C major and A minor or something
Yeah.
like that. That's what you're going for, and so yeah, that's right. You know what I mean? That's a good formula.
No, yeah, that's interesting. So I will have to just look more to how you put that, because you can play between all 12 notes and make it sound cohesive or just glue.
Yeah, you can use all the. Oh yeah, there are many. There's many things to study that utilize all 12 notes
Uh-huh.
in a way that sounds structured and not random and chaotic.
That's crazy.
For example, one of my biggest heroes, and probably one of my biggest inspirations of all time is John Coltrane.
Oh yeah, I knew you were gonna say
And
culture.
yeah, and one of the things that he was like really interested in investigating, that inspired, a whole, you know, the whole like everything that came after it, basically, not just in jazz, but in popular music in general, is he invented this thing that often gets referred to as Coltrane changes. And what it is basically is taking like a simple chord progression, like, kind of like the standard chord progressions that people have been playing for hundreds of years, and expanding them to include, you know all 12 notes of the chromatic scale. So one of the ways that he did that, uh, uh, which is illustrated perfectly in the song Giant Steps, is he invented this system of like hopping around in thirds. So like whatever chord progression you give him, he multiplies that chord progression by 3, basically. um, oh, the sound just went out.
No, I got it muted because my dog.
Oh, okay. uh, yeah. So like that's one example of how, you can create something with 12 notes that is, still structured, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Okay.
I think when people think about like music that has the whole chromatic scale, they're like, oh well, that must just sound avant-garde or like just random and chaotic. But Coltrane found a way to make it sound very pretty, I guess, and you know, just very thoughtful.
Yeah.
And anybody who's listening, if you haven't checked out the album Giant Steps by John Coltrane, that is definitely one of my like biggest inspirations as an artist.
Oh wow. I just learned that about you today. Yeah, they have this breakdown of Coltrane's one of his albums on the Vox. You seen that one? Vox.
I don't think so.
Okay, I will have to DM it to you. And they was talking about what you're talking about now.
Okay.
And but you should check out Vox channel because they talk about a lot of what like musicians creating outside of forms, but still like they're pop artists, so they're still dope. Like Radiohead. Was it Radiohead?
Yeah,
Yeah, how they just do like the different drum patterns and things like that. Yeah,
for
so
sure.
I'll send them to you through your DM. Um,
Okay.
but next I kind of wanted to talk about technology and media, and I just kind of want to pick
Okay.
your brain on this because you always have like the cool music gear, the pedals and stuff like
Oh,
that.
okay.
So I just want to ask, like, what
Lately.
technology? Yeah. So I want to ask you, so what technology has aided you in your expression as a guitarist?
Ah, okay. Um, well, as I mentioned earlier, I actually started making beats before I even tried to play any instruments. And I think that that definitely, there's so many important lessons that you gain just from trying to make beats on literally anything, whether it's like an app or garage band, literally anything. You kind of just you figure out some things about how music is structured, right? And yeah, I would say that to this day, it's I don't write music in the like traditional classic way of sitting with a paper and pencil. Um, Frankly, I don't know a lot of people who do. I mean, obviously, some people still do. They're like 21st century composers. But for me, everything that I've ever written was with the help of some sort of recording device. You know what I mean? It started out with yeah, just recording things into Fruity Loops and Audacity, and then eventually I got a loop pedal, and like everything I wrote for like years was just on my loop pedal. You know.
So what loop pedal do you use?
Well, I've changed the loop pedals a bunch of times. Let me see. Is it? I think it's downstairs. Right now, I've actually downgraded to the cheapest looper I think in the entire world. There's this company called A Moon, and it's literally like this big, um,
Wow.
and it's $30 brand new, and it's just the most bare bones looping device. Like all it does is record one loop at a time, and that's it. And it has like up to 10 minutes of looping space.
Hey, well, if it
But
works for you.
I've Yeah, but I've went through a bunch of different loopers. I've had like a couple of the Boss loop stations. Eventually, I upgraded to the Boss RC300, which was like huge. It was like
Yeah.
an entire pedal board in and of itself.
Yep.
And I sold that because it was just too much. It was just like, why do I have this ridiculous thing when all I need to do is record simple loops and delete them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. They actually like model a lot of loopers after the boss right now. I just
Yeah.
you seen the looper I just got?
Oh yeah. What was it again?
Hair rush.
It- oh, Head Rush. Yeah, yeah. Those are crazy.
They crazy. It's big. It's like this big. It's my second looper, but it I got it
Mm,
cheaper than any looper now that's on the market. Like it costs
wow.
it costs like 900, but I got it for 350. But the one I was trying to get was the
Mm.
TC Helicon, the GTX.
Oh, yep. Those are
They
those are crazy too.
they always sold out, and that's
Yeah.
like 575. And then like
Woo.
the touch one for the TC Helicon was like 600. So they really expensive. And I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm getting back into looping, and I know like you really into it too. So I was hoping that you can. I'm still. Do you have any videos of you looping on YouTube or anything?
Um, I don't know. I have to. I really have to update my YouTube. I've been neglecting that platform the most. I think.
Okay, well, I'm gonna
There's
put
got
it in
I
the description.
there's got to be a few on my Instagram still. I think.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta see how it's done for sure, just with the guitars. Um, so I wanted to ask you, like, how has social media like helped you on your journey with connecting to artists, and your fan base, and just growing just new people, or just getting business connections? Like, how has social media helped you?
It's definitely helped me. Actually, I can trace back how I ended up working with Common to social media. So Bandcamp is well, originally I uploaded that EP that I told you about edibles on SoundCloud, and I think it was my friend Asante who was like, "Yo, you should put this on Bandcamp." So I put it on Bandcamp, and my my now very important, mentor and uh, boss for many different situations, Kareem Riggins, uh, literally just discovered me on Bandcamp. Yeah, he found my beats and he reached out to me. He asked me to play on some of his beats, and yeah, almost 10 years later is when he put me in the band to play with Common at the Detroit Jazz Fest.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. But see, it's so small. It makes the world so much smaller.
Yeah,
Also, I heard you play on the song with Oshun,
I did. Yes.
right?
Actually, that's also through SoundCloud. So there you go. Another example of social media helping me out. They discovered me on SoundCloud and they just straight up asked me if they can have that beat. That was one of the beats that I released off of my like second or third EP on SoundCloud, which was called Space.
Okay, and when I seen it, I was like, "Whoa, I didn't even know that." That's it. It was dope though. Like, it seemed like that would make sense. Like, y'all, and she seemed very, or they seemed very like real into music, into hip hop and stuff like that.
They were so cool. I was blown away that because at the time I had like 2 followers on SoundCloud and they were like these huge stars. And they were just like, "Yo, we love this beat. Can we use it?" I'm like, "Are you serious? Please use it." Just please, just mention my name.
Yep.
I'd be so honored.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a dope. I mean, you on a lot of stuff with a lot of like artists like the Black Milk and BJ Chicago Kid. He was on a
Black
song with
Milk.
them too. Yeah, Black Milk. I was like, okay, and I could tell like that, like your sound. I don't know. You very versatile, like how you play, because that was just really like soulful guitar licks, like bluesy almost.
For sure. Yeah, that's one of those instances where I'm you know, I'm almost trying to like, wear a different hat, so to speak. Um, my hip hop sample hat, you know, or bag, whatever you want to call it. It's like I try to like just I try to hear I try to like put my brain in like in the thought process of old samples, because that's what being in the studio with Black Milk is awesome actually because um he just showed me so many records that I've never heard, and like he would just dig up these crazy like some like Portuguese band from the 60s or something, and he'd be like, "Yeah, like listen to this guitar part." And so I just like I ended up learning a bunch of stuff on guitar and also kind of learning like a new language of like, okay, so this is how you play to be like to make like sampleable material, guitar samples.
Man, I don't know, when you be saying stuff, I just be getting like just ideas of what I'm saying, just the stuff. So that's why I like having these conversations, because you don't even realize that you just dropping so much, um, just for the creative mind. So I
Mm,
hope whoever is watching this, when they watch it, they just listen to everything you saying, even if you're not like making it sensational. Just you could do stuff with that.
mm,
But that's my favorite type of guitar. The like Spanish, Portugal, all the romance. That's my favorite
yeah,
style. So I would love to hear you play
for
some
sure.
Spanish type music too. But you know,
I can only fake it. I mean, that's what I say about a lot of the stuff that I do. Um, like I said, it's almost like I have to suppress certain tendencies to just play everything that I hear and everything that I want, which is Um, it's usually just too much information. You know what I mean? Uh, there's like a way that I play when I practice at home that I basically wouldn't show anybody because it's like it's just, you know, there's like playing there's there's playing with the band and then there's playing on top of the band, if you know what I mean. And when I practice at home, I love just playing over everything, just completely disrespectful, just like shredding over the vocals. But I wouldn't do that on anybody's gig because the music requires the guitar to play a certain role.
I like
Uh,
that role. And the more a musician is able to like do that, I think it makes you like you can work with everybody and anybody.
for sure, yeah. A lot of it is just literally me trying to stay out of the way. You know, me trying to not play too much. Um, Looking for just that perfect little spot to insert something.
That's great because I feel like a lot of musicians, you can tell that they be trying to over showcase themselves.
For sure,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? So, but it's like
And
all
that
you just compliment.
that was definitely me on my first day at church. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, like I got to keep this gig. I got to prove myself. So I'm going to play everything I know on every single chord and every opportunity that I get. And what I learned from that experience is that that's just not musical, you know? It's like and it's not you're not being a team player when you do that because your ears are kind of closed off when you're like really focused on like being impressive or something. You're not really like listening as much as you would if you are trying to stay out of the way. I find that working with different bands, if you just try to listen more to everybody else than you are to yourself, then you end up like finding the right spot for you, if that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so my last question would be, um, just what advice do you have for people who wants to learn to play the guitar, and also advice for people who wants to make this a career?
Mm. Oh gosh. um I think I can definitely speak better to the learning part than the career part because I don't know if I have that all the way figured out myself. Uh, but as far as learning, I definitely recommend whether you want to make it a career or not. I just recommend for everybody to uh, really pursue what they love musically because that's what makes it fun and enjoyable. If you make it too disciplined or too if you try to be too focused about it, like I have to do this and I have to get faster at this, then you might end up stifling your creative process or kind of limiting it. you know um like for example, uh one of the questions that I get asked by a lot of my students is like, how do you play fast? How do you play so fast?
I want to
um
know too.
and my answer is always that it wasn't my goal to get this fast necessarily with the stuff that I play. Um, because all the stuff that I do play fast or can is stuff that I practiced super duper slow. Um, yeah, it's just like all the stuff that's most comfortable for me, just sped up basically, you know. And there's still a lot of stuff that I wish I could do faster, or just stuff that I wish I could do fast at all that's just doesn't feel comfortable for my hand. Uh, and thus, a lot of the stuff that I play that's fast is kind of boring to me, or it kind of feels, disingenuine because it's like the only thing that I can play to me. You know what I mean? But yeah, let me get back to the original question. Uh,
You answering it all
you
around.
know, oh yeah. Well, yeah. So I think that if you do it just because you really enjoy it, um, you enjoy learning new things on the guitar, then you can't fail. I think. So yeah, just try to make your practice fun and musical, always musical.
Yeah.
Like one thing that I always talk about with my students, you know, because sometimes people some come to me that are like not beginners, but they're like have already been, you know, learning on their own or studying with another teacher, and they show me some of the things they're working on, and I always find that it's like, wow, that's so boring. You know what I mean? Like you're practicing your scale with a metronome. Why not practice that scale over a song? Or why not like create a song with that scale and then practice that? Um, I think that for me, for many, many years, the thing that worked so well is the fact that I had basically no routine. You know, I didn't have like oh, I need to get this down. I was just like, every day was a day to explore and do whatever I wanted. So I think that that's super important. Like if you want to, if you really want to learn any music, is that you just enjoy the process of learning.
That's great. My dog is going crazy. No, that's great advice, you know, especially about learning. It's a journey in itself. It's learning. And you never stop learning.
Oh yeah, every day. Uh, you know, so let me contradict myself a little bit here, and say that I have somewhat of a routine now. Now that I am a career musician, I guess, right? Uh, Now when I get a chance to practice, there are certain things that I do tell myself, like, okay, I got to get better at this. I got to get this down, and you know, it's. I still try to make it fun, I guess, is what I was gonna say. As much as possible, I try to like find a way to practice the thing that I need to get better at where it's enjoyable, you know, like say for playing in church, you know, I didn't really enjoy doing that until I just found guitar players who I thought sounded really good doing it. You know, I kind of found my favorite gospel players, and then I started enjoying it because I was like, oh, like I actually want to learn what he's playing because I love it, not because I have to, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So also, what do you have coming this year? Like what can what could we be on the lookout for from Sasha this year?
More anti-philosophy for sure.
A
That's pretty much all I can say for sure at this moment. Yeah, unfortunately, most of the other plans that I had kind of fell apart due to the pandemic. You know, so I won't be definitely won't be traveling much, if at all. You know, don't have any major gigs coming up. So I'll just be at home making more anti-philosophy. That's my passion project right now.
nice.
For
You gonna be
everyone out there, please check out the page. We just made a new Instagram page. We have like 2 followers. So yes, check it out. Tell people about it. Anti-philosophy.
I'll definitely put that in the description box
Thank
below.
you.
I don't want to take all your time. I really
No
appreciate.
worries. I'm enjoying this.
For sure, for sure. Yep. So I appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom. And you're my first guitarist. And so I'm
Oh
just
wow.
very
I'm honored.
I'm honored. I'm honored. I'm just happy that, you know, it was you that I got to talk to because like I said, I've been following you forever. You already know. And you just share so much wisdom with us. And for the people that see this now and to the future, you know, you can apply this knowledge, this wisdom is forever. This is not no, you know, it's not just a trend. Like what he's telling you will last all through eternity because it's the truth,
Oh
you
wow.
know.
I
So
hope so.
yeah. So any last words you want to say?
Hmm.
You
I
already
don't
told.
know.
Okay.
I'm not,
All
I
right.
think yeah, I think that's it.